Opposition leader Peter Dutton is seeking to change how referendum votes are counted ahead of the Indigenous voice to Parliament. He says it's completely outrageous. A tick can be accepted as a yes vote, but a cross cannot be accepted as a no vote. The opposition leader has called on the Prime Minister to consider changing the legislation so that one side is not favoured over the other. Voters will be told ahead of the voice referendum to write yes or no on the ballot paper. Joining me now live is the Agriculture Minister, Murray Watt. Minister, thank you for joining us. Has this created an unlevel playing field?
Well, good morning, Danica. Good to be with you. Look, I just think this is the latest scare campaign from Peter Dutton designed to distract people from what the voice debate is really all about. I mean, as far as I can see, all the Australian Electoral Commission is doing here is applying the same rules that have always applied to referendums, which is that they would count a tick as a valid vote, but not a cross, because sometimes a cross in a box might mean that you agree, sometimes it might mean that you don't. But there's a very simple answer here, which is that all people have got to do is either vote yes or no. That's the way around this. And I don't think we need Peter Dutton or anyone else trying to interfere with the independent Australian Electoral Commission just as another attempt to distract people and whip up concern around this debate.
But if a person ticks instead of writing yes, so then that counts towards a yes vote, surely that inflates the yes vote. Shouldn't you consider changing the legislation to make sure that there's no messiness to clear up the confusion?
Well, I don't know about you, Danica, but I've certainly, when I've had to fill in questionnaires on travel cards and things like that, sometimes I've ticked boxes, sometimes I've crossed boxes to say yes to a particular item. But as I say, the very simplest thing here is for people to simply write yes or no. And as I say, I just think this is another attempt from Peter Dutton to distract people, to whip up concern around this debate and get away from the fact that what this is really all about is listening to Aboriginal people to get better results and better value for money. That's what the voice debate is about. And Peter Dutton seems to be determined to talk about anything other than that, whether it be about ticks, crosses, or inventing scare campaigns about what might happen under a voice to Parliament.
All right, let's move on. Today there will be an emergency management meeting in Brisbane. We know it's going to be a bad bushfire season ahead. What will be on the agenda today?
Yeah, so today's another really important step in making sure that we are ready for the coming bushfire season as a country. This is the second meeting this year of all the country's emergency management ministers, but the first face-to-face meeting that we've held. And one of the key items that we will be discussing is the bushfire outlook that we face this summer. I don't want to alarm people because in some parts of the country, what we're looking at is returning to a fairly normal fire season rather than the very wet conditions that we have seen over the last couple of years. But all of the ministers today will be briefed by the Bureau of Meteorology as to the outlook over spring and summer. But it is another opportunity for us to all tighten our systems and make sure that we're fully ready. You may have seen also in some of the papers this morning, Danica, that in late September, the federal government will be holding the first ever national bushfire preparedness summit in Canberra. And that is really about trying to expand the number of people who are really getting ready for what's coming ahead. We'll obviously have the fire authorities there from each of the different jurisdictions who've been working on this for several months now, but we'll also be inviting representatives from the private sector and all the non-government organisations who get involved in disasters. So these are all extra steps to make sure that we are really ready for what's coming this year.
We're running out of time, but how ready and prepared are various state and federal agencies for this? And are you confident that there'll be enough supplies, stockpiles of supplies ready to go by summer?
Yeah, I am confident that we're ready, Danica, and we've all really been starting to work on the coming fire season even since the last disaster season was even completed. Before that, it was even completed. So there's been huge work going between the federal, state and territory governments and the fire authorities to make sure that we're ready. I'm advised that we have sufficient aircraft for the kind of fire season we're expecting. And in terms of stockpiles, the federal government is in the process of putting together the very first ever national stockpile of things like temporary accommodation, water purification equipment. We've never had that at a national level, and that's really designed to supplement the sort of stockpiles that we already see the states and territories have in place.